Shalom. First and foremost, we're going to start off by giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. And I wanted to do a brief video because I saw a brother had posted a video speaking about this particular series on Amazon Prime. For those of you who have Amazon Prime, all right, or those of you who are privy to ways to get to particular series without, dealing with those different boxes and, you know, things of those sort, pretty good, so far. We watched pretty much all of part one. It's called The Days of Noah, the Flood, part one of four. Now it's four parts. It's pretty good. How the Heavenly Father uses this devil, or these devils. They look into everything. And Apostle Tahar, always brings that up. These devils, pretty much, when you check them out, they're into everything because ultimately they're trying to, research themselves out of judgment. A lot of their scientists, they try to undermine reality, and they've pushed this thing of pseudoscience to try to cut out judgment, to try to cut off, the Most High's Son, true history, and present to you pseudo history, pseudoscience, your perception of history, your perception of reality, your perception of this earth that we live in, and judgment and sin, and living reckless on the earth. They try to cut off any judgment associated with that and present to you all of these explanations of why things are. And what it pretty much does is it dumbs down the minds, mainly of you Israelites and of all of the people, to where there's no fear of the Lord. Everybody's living proud, and we're living in the days of Noah. So pretty much what this documentary does is it cuts, this theory of evolution, which, the basis of things like evolution, that we, come from these different animals and, we evolved to what we are today, and mixed species. The scriptures cut evolution, period. But when you look at this documentary, all right, it goes into particular studies, because these devils, like I said, the Lord set him up because within this whole system, the Lord set it up to where these devils would have opinions against one another. All right, whereas you have a lot of Edomites who push, the theories of evolution, which they all go back to the Sumeria, all of these different ideologies that boast themselves against the Heavenly Father and to try to, downplay his judgment and his, role along with the Elohim in creation, try to push these things of billions of years. Well, in this documentary, they show you that, the structure of the earth, doesn't add up with the whole billions of years, but it actually adds up with the fairly young earth. When you look at creation story, okay, it took 7 days, which ultimately was 1,000 years. Now it was 6 days of creation, all right, 6,000 years, and then the seventh day was pretty much rest, all right, and pretty much that fulfilled creation, 7,000 years. And then when you look at, as Esau, even in his science, they'll tell you that the first, sign of humanity, goes back to the Sumerians and this and that, which only goes back about 5,000 years, if I'm, thinking correctly, 5 to 6,000 years. Okay, which proves that the scriptures are true, which the Sumerians weren't the first, people on the earth, but after the flood, dealing with Nimrod, that was the first major empire. All right. And the scripture speaks of these things. The scriptures pretty much gives you all of the history of creation, okay, abridged, all right, but it's from the perspective of the chosen people. Whereas you have particular writings like the Epic of Gilgamesh, which were written before the scrolls were written, okay, because ultimately, when you look in the Epic of Gilgamesh, they speak about the flood. So a lot of people say, well, the Bible was borrowed from the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh, just because both of them speak of a flood. You have a lot of Moabite writings that speak of the flood. All right, but the only reason that is because all of these nations descend from Noah. Okay, and they have accounts of the flood. Out of Noah came Shem, Ham, and Japheth, which pretty much all 18 nations that inhabit this planet Earth today descend from. So, of course, they would have stories of the flood. Just because one wrote down the story of the flood before the scrolls were complete does not take away from the validation of the scriptures. Okay, they just both wrote about one particular event, which when you look at the formation of the earth, when you look at everything, it all supports, all right, that there was a catastrophic worldwide flood. And this video, this documentary, which, I'm gonna rewatch it, probably with my son, one of these days. But it cuts into some of that, information, and the way the Heavenly Father set it up is a lot of these devils are gonna have, research and opinions that support and validate the scriptures, because the average Jake doesn't have the money to go and do all of these researches and look into all of these things. They don't have the time, they don't have the money, they don't have the research. Now, we believe in the scriptures through faith, but there are particular secular findings that support what the scriptures say. And what the Heavenly Father has done is he's allowed these devils, okay. Now, here's the name of the documentary, The Days of Noah, the flood, and it just goes into how pretty much, the world pretty much started out. It was paradise. Even at the time before the flood, from the fall of Adam to that point, the earth was still in a very strong, and beautified state. All right. But it's worsened because of what? Sin. Okay. The major judgment in the form of the flood came because of sin. And we're right there at that point, as the scriptures say, in the days of Noah. Let's get that. Let's get that in the scriptures. Lord willing, let's pull it up here. The days of Noah. This is Luke chapter 17. and I'll start at 25 because, Noah was a symbolic of pretty much what we all would go through. All right. Verse 25, but first must he suffer many things and be rejected of this generation. And that documentary went into it, how Noah was rejected of his generation. Now, the beauty of Noah, when you read it, Genesis chapter 7, the Lord told him, I found, faith, amongst this generation, and hopefully we are likened unto that very same thing. The Lord has favor upon us amongst the rebellious generation. He'll find faith and faithfulness among that generation, which would be us. All right. But it says, and as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat. Okay. I mean, they got these mukbangs on YouTube where niggas just, eat big ass hot links. All right. 2-ton crab legs, prawns, clams, just totally engulfed in pride. Selfies. You have these social media sites where people are just totally engulfed in pride, man. Humanity has taken a very, very drastic turn to a point where a higher power is going to eventually intervene. They married wives. They were given unto marriage until the day that Noah entered into the flood. Okay, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Okay, so the same thing that is going on then, I believe there's another one. Let me see here. Matthew, Matthew 24. Pretty much the same thing. As the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days that they were before the flood, and it's crazy that in that documentary, the Edomite, they understood that in Genesis 6, the sons of God were speaking of the descendants of Adam through Seth. How they just fell into wickedness. But Jake still is of some belief that that's speaking of absolute giants falling from the heavens, coming to the planet Earth looking for Doritos and wild berries and having sex with women. No, that ain't what that's talking about. That's speaking of the chosen lineage being mingled among the heathen and learning their work, setting up idols, okay, and ultimately doing wickedness, man. Okay, eating, drinking, marrying, and giving into marriage. Okay, and pretty much the value of sex has been debased to just some carnal desire when there's a whole spiritual aspect to it. There's a nation building aspect to it. All right, there's a very, very serious aspect to it. But, through this captivity, we view sex as just some earthly desire. Now, there is a pleasure that comes with it, but there's an order that it's created for, man. Okay, when you take out the Heavenly Father, which this kingdom has done, what happened at that time, okay? It wasn't the popular thing to serve the Lord. So what Noah was doing as he was building that ark, you know, as he was building that ark, was likened to what we're doing, okay? And that led to a catastrophic flood. Let's get Hebrews, the 11th chapter. Okay. And in that documentary, it proves that there was a flood. Now, as the scriptures say in verse 1, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. All right. So we didn't have to actually see the flood to believe it. All right. But there are carnal, okay, and secular things that we can look at. And the Heavenly Father set this Edomite up in a sense to show, like, you go to Discovery Channel and you see particular. Now the scriptures say, ask now the beast, and they shall teach you, ask now the birds and they shall tell you. When you look at, the different migration of birds and the function of things in this earth, you can clearly see the mind of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, man. And they teach you of his way. You see? Now, the way we see a lot of those things is through, Discovery channels and things that Esau sets up. So the Lord has set him up and put him in a position so that we can see these things. And what? It basically, it adds to our faith. Because would Jake, have that type of camera to go out and study birds and to watch the owls and to have a night vision on a damn fox hunting, at night, or very owls and how we don't have that. So the Lord set this man up. And the scriptures say the heart is deep. They accomplish a diligent search. As a matter of fact, let's get that. Hold up. Maybe it's not two L's. Let's see here. Right. It says Psalm 64 and 6, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of them and the heart is deep. See? So they accomplish a diligent search. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So shall they make their own tongues to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So they're being exposed within their own Edomite power, structure system. Now, when you look at that documentary, you'll notice that everybody's Edomite. Okay, now when they show, how bad humanity is and what it's come to, they show Jake fighting and looting and rioting and doing things. But when it comes to purity and everything's white, all right. But it's all right. We understand that at that time there wasn't a so-called white person in the earth. Okay, at the time that Noah was preaching, he preached 120 years. Could you imagine that? Preaching 120 years. So the Lord ultimately brought this out because he's making their own tongues to fall upon themselves. His own mouth is condemning him. And you can see that in that documentary. Now, going back to Hebrews 11, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You see? So that's the very purpose of faith. But as you go down the line, it goes to Noah. By faith, Noah being warned of God of things not as yet seen. Now, what was the thing at that time not as yet seen? The thing that wasn't seen was a flood, rain coming upon the earth. Before that, the earth watered itself by the dew. So as Noah, was warned and went out and started building that ark, people were like, nigga, what? They were mocking him. It had, even in the little cartoon, it had people making boats and breaking them and laughing and mocking. The same thing they're doing to us. Because we've been warned of the things not as yet seen. As the scriptures say, new things do I declare, but before they come to pass, I tell you of them. How did he tell you of them? Of the prophets. Noah was a prophet. Noah was warned of the things not as yet seen. So he was saying before. That's what prophesy means. To say before. Move with fear as we're moved with fear. Prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world and became the heir of righteousness, which is by faith. You see, what he did took serious faith, man. And he was rooted. Let's read it in the NLT. It was by faith that Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened before. Now, America has never been touched before, so we're warning the people about things that had never happened before. We're warning the people about chariots coming to beam people up, fire, nuclear war, all of these nations shooting nuclear missiles. That ain't never happened before on the earth. You see? So, like we were saved by water in that time, okay, we're saved through the word. What is that in baptism? I believe it's in the book of Peter. First Peter 3:20, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, even when, that is, 8 souls were saved. 8 people were saved, man. And it don't even give you the name of the women. You know about Shem, Ham, and Japheth, but you don't know the names of the women. Could you imagine how happy those women were to be linked with those men at that time? Well, that's how we're going to be, as the men of the Lord in the time to come. It says, the like figure whereunto even baptism, all right, doth also now save us, not to the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of God, okay, of a good conscience towards God by the resurrection of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. All right, so we're saved by the water again, but it's the water of this word, the washing away of the filth. And that's what that flood did. It washed away the filth. Now, going here to Genesis real quick. Genesis, the 6th chapter. Now the thing about Noah is he pops up in Genesis, the 5th chapter, but it goes from Adam, okay, and through Seth. Now, Seth was the child raised up after Abel was slew. Okay, so Seth continued the priesthood, the calling on the name of the Lord, and the righteous way. All right, as it goes up, amongst that generation of the sons of God, you know, there comes Noah, who had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, now as you read this in verse 6, and it came to pass when men began to multiply upon the face of the earth, daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of which they chose. Now we have various videos on this, but ultimately this is speaking of, that chosen lineage being mingled amongst all of those different nations, doing what? Following their way. And Jake has a history of getting amongst the heathen women and bowing to their idols, man. Building temples to their gods. Solomon did that. Okay? We ain't new to this. We true to this, man. But as you keep reading down, it says, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, showing you it's not angels. It said, my spirit shall not strive with man. The Lord was pissed off at the behavior of these people. They had become lewd. They had become proud. They had become to follow a way that led to no fear of the Lord. And that's where the people are now. As a matter of fact, who's at the forefront of pushing that? Here it is in 2021. The devil is pushing more, pushing the truth on a level that Jake ain't even. Here it is. The devil, you watch this documentary, they're breaking it down. But a nigga is in his mind, there is no God, there was no flood, there was nothing but the devil. Now the Heavenly Father set it up that way. All right, because the way that he used Esau in prophecy, he would set up Esau to destroy himself. And he would set Esau up to get on the internet and expose things, make these documentaries, get these YouTube pages mad as hell at what America, and put all sorts of information out there that we can use to validate what the scriptures say. Call halal Yahweh Shemiah Shai. Okay? And you got to be careful with this devil. Nonetheless, he is set up to bring out a lot of the truth, all right, of what's going on. Because he's privy and he has access to things that the common person don't have. Okay? But the Lord put different spirits on some of them to bring out truths. You see? But even within that, they try to still put themselves as a superior race. So they're in a trick bag at the end of the day. And it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to behold, Like Tazariak, he said, well, here it is. The reason y'all don't want to take Maxine is because y'all looking at those videos and it's all white people. Well, yeah, because their tongues are going to fall upon themselves. A lot of the information that's coming out on Maxine is coming from other Edomites. Now, it's all sorts of nations. Even Jake is bringing things out, but hey, that's a part of his fall, man. Now, this is verse 8 in 2 Thessalonians. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. And we always show you that this word for lying wonders, which many people fall after this man's BS. Many people still fall after this man's. Oh boy, here we go. I knew something was coming. Hold up. Boy. Anyway, I'll get it here. It's crazy. I was already on that chapter. 2 Thessalonians 2. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And the spirit of the Lord's mouth starts with the prophets going out, teaching the truth. the truth of the gospel. But as we say, there are things that are in secular history that we can use to, ultimately support the truth of what the scriptures are saying. All right? And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming the chariots, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan. He's the adversary. What does the word Satan mean? Satanas. All right? The adversary, one who opposes. All right? And he's opposed through pseudoscience the very act, the very vibration, the very existence of the Most High, man. You see? The worshippers of idols are said to be under his control by his demons, that he was able to take possession of them, of men, and inflict them with diseases. And the diseases, all right, yeah, there are physical diseases, but the main diseases he puts on people are in their mind. He afflicts people in their mind, man. See, he's, one of the things that were found in Babylon was the souls of men. And it's through ultimately those lies, which are adverse, which are in opposition to what is true. All right? With all power and signs and lying wonders. Pseudos, lying wonders. Pseudos, a lie, a conscious and intentional falsehood. So what is known as science today is a pretty much a mocking of true knowledge, true understanding, true reality. They are trying to undermine judgment. That's one of the main reasons they love to. And Nimrod tried to do that. He pretty much tried to blot out the existence of the flood, the existence of the Most High, the existence of judgment for rebelling against the Most High. He wanted to undermine that. He tried to blot it out and pretty much push to people that they needed to leave off from the fear of the Lord. Leave off from the fear of the true understanding of what is right, what is true, true history, which all points towards what? There was a great judgment. To take up on this folly-filled lust, do as thou wilt, okay, live as a beast, don't have any regard for life, for judgment, do, steal, take, have what you want. See? So he's created intentional falsehoods. In a broad sense, whatever is not what it seems to be, of perverse, impious, deceitful precepts. The root word to lie, to speak deliberate falsehoods. So when you hear this man talks about billions of years and the evolution theory, first of all, real quick, but you know what, let me finish that. It says, let me show you what cuts that. Even him whose comings after working with Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness. And that's what people don't want to, people don't want to deal with the truth that there's a particular man, a particular nation on earth who does the bidding of Satan with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, and that they should believe a lie, so that they may be damned, which is what? Condemned, who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. So there's particular people whom the Lord put a strong delusion on. And you'll look at them like, why are they so stupid? Why don't they get it? Well, for the movie's sake, the Heavenly Father chose them to be adverse and to be against righteousness, to be against his prophets. Those people you can't love, you can't, sympathize with. The Lord have chose them to be deceived. Now, some of them that are deceived now may wake up, but your mind has to be towards the elect. Now, let's get this in the book of, which cuts this notion that a man can come from a fish or a monkey, and all of this crap. Which, watch that documentary. It breaks a lot of things down. I was edified, and we're not even done yet. We can look at more of it. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And yep. In 39, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, and another of beasts, and another of fishes, and another of birds. So a man, because if you look at creation, things were created after their kind. See, after their kind. So nowhere in the history of the world could a beast have turned into a man, because they all have one seed. But what this devil is doing is he's mixing the seeds and creating his own version of creation and doing all sorts of wickedness to pretty much uproot what is true, what is right, and to create pseudoscience. You see that? That way he's able to hide who he is, hide who you are, and bury it under this billion-year theory of the Big Bang, where nothing just exploded into everything you see before you. Nothing absolutely just blew up. And now you have gas stations, nipples, all right, kneecaps, okay, them little ass wine bottles that you get from the gas station in 4-packs, you know, stones, you know, football, you catch niggas catching 300 yards a game, you know, like, come on, man. All of that came from just an explosion. This great thing that we see before us in the form of Earth just came from nothing. There's no intelligent being that created this, but yet man could boast in making computers, cars, you know. But here it is, you have the sun, the moon, mountains, fish, all of this water, and that just came here by chance. That's not attributed to a higher power, man. But anyway, I didn't want to speak too long on that, man. Watch that documentary if you have the Amazon Prime. Lord willing, y'all are edified. On to the next one. Shalom.